So yeah, I mean so the last time we talked was like late January,
Yeah.
and things were looking rad, and we had all of our shit planned out. And here we are in September, and that's not necessarily the case. So I know you've been staying busy, so I definitely want to hear what you have going on.
Yeah, my plan has adjusted so much due to COVID. I was supposed to do so many different like traveling opportunities this year. So as you know, so in June, I had it planned that I was going to go to the second largest music festival in the country and in like Virginia area. I don't know if it's the it's not S by what is it, South by Southwest.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
number one. So the one I was going to was number two. And then because of COVID said, well, we're gonna combine like this festival near Norfolk, Virginia, um, with South by Southwest.
Hmm.
So that would have been like a huge like opportunity, but I ended up, you know what? It's better to say stay safe, Ari.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely hear that. So I guess from the time that we posted that kind of original blog of where we were and where we were gonna go, um, you've been up to a lot. If you follow if you follow Devon on any social media, she's up to a lot 100% of the time. But as with anything, there had to be a shift to some different ways of doing things. You were making masks at one point, and so I'd love to hear about kind of everything. I'm sure there's stuff I missed that you were doing.
Well, because of my, as you know, a lot of people lost their jobs during COVID-19. I'm very thankful that I was home on furlough for 3 months. So to stay busy, I was basically doing mask relief effort. I was doing paid orders. Some of the paid orders funded me basically doing missions work to get people masks that couldn't necessarily have afforded to get their hands on one. So it was just a very just emotional time being a mask provider. While I still was, working on music, and I put out my single at the same time.
Gotcha. What songs did you release during everything that kind of happened here the last few months?
Right. I mean, I've invested in during quarantine, meaning that the money has been put up and things are like there's things in the pipeline that you're not seeing from me. Money. So, I was using that to the fullest. I have a brand new piano in the back. Thank you, government.
Nice.
Okay. That, you know what I mean? So I definitely did my share of investing in music with some of that stimulus package, that's for sure.
I hear that. I mean, I had, coming to this year, I had a list of things that I needed to get me to where I wanted to be, if that makes sense. And, in that time, it was like, well, I'm not gigging. I don't have to buy like, you know, fucking like 5 sets of strings. Let me put that towards something else that, can benefit me right now. And I got through that list, which is kind of awesome. It puts me in a really good spot right now in terms of where I want to be. But thank you. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to create and do things right now, and that's a huge part of what that list was for me. Was these are the things that I need to do to record videos, to document what I'm doing, and just getting to that point is a really good feeling. I'm pretty stoked about it. It's nice to have some goals that I can kind of check off in a year where there are a lot of goals that I couldn't. one of my
Right.
goals consistently is to be in two bands. That couldn't happen right now, and there's just a whole plethora of things that couldn't. So I think it's important to kind of relish in the things that could and the things that you did and the things that you pushed yourself to, even though it was a really depressing time. It's still a really depressing time.
Right. I do think like it's going to get better for people, but we're still kind of in the thick of it with no vaccine at this point, you know. And even, I hope to God we get this vaccine in January, but at the same time, there's still there's a section of people that anti-vaxxers, they're not going to take it. Then you have the section of people that are basically saying, I'll take it, but I want to see how you do on it first. So it's just, it's so much political, everywhere. And we're going to keep this a little bit lighthearted. We're not going to get too, into the politics right now, because God knows you can read through your Facebook, go on the news and see everything that's going on. And we're just on here, trying to uplift. So we're not going to go that deep tonight. I mean,
Right.
maybe that could be another video if y'all are really like y'all need to talk about Black Lives Matter because y'all are part Black. I mean, no, and that's no laughing matter, you know. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, because this year I really wanted to, as we talked about in the last blog, I wanted to travel with these different music opportunities, and I thought it was going to be so cool. So now, kind of the reverse has happened because of COVID. I've ended up being more so restrained, but really, so I do it so for me is that my new voice teacher is the same voice teacher that trained one of the voice contestants. So I'm just so like blessed that because of COVID, it was easier to like reach out to people for opportunities, and people weren't working as much. So you could kind of get your hands on people because they weren't at their job. There was no job to go to. So, any, musicians that are suffering right now or anything, like keep in mind, like somehow this is an opportunity for you. And just like think big, because everybody is at home. Everybody's near the phone waiting for the shoe to drop or to get back, of anything, you know what I mean? So just really, engage with people and write somebody a message that you've always wanted to work with, but just never have had time. This is the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it absolutely is. So I guess on your end, so you put out that single. Anything else musically that's happened at this point, or you're kind of holding off until things sort of kind of shake out, or what's the move?
No, I would say for me, I invested like pretty big. And when I get into it's being written, and there's songwriters and people that are on the projects, meaning that I'm sorry you don't have like the CD or like the MP3 or to play it yet. So there's stuff I invested in during COVID. So you are going to get more things from me.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah. Because like I said, that stimulus check, and then I was like flipping, like I said, so I released the song What I'm Feeling. So that was the follow-up single to Lions.
Okay.
And that single, those two songs were able to get me, the voice teacher I wanted. So at the end of the day, you know what I mean? You're like, okay, that I see where that brought me to ultimately.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's well, that's good. I mean, that's the cool thing too, right? Like, we don't have too many things to do right now. We can work on kind of making sure everything's 100% like gear wise and rig wise, and then we can practice. Or you could just not practice during this time, which I think is probably an awful decision.
No, I feel like this about it. You want to be That's why I've upgraded voice teachers and I've done all this investing and bought new instruments and all that. Because when one day this is going to be over. When this is over, is your voice or your instrument, are you in better shape, or at least you stayed like the same? So you're coming out like okay. If you were, I mean, here's my thing. If you're like super depressed right now, then maybe your best is just you know what I mean? Like everyone's best looks so different right now, so I can't really, like, I don't want to shame anybody if they feel like I don't feel super productive right now. That's okay. Like that's your right. And I told my one friend, I said, I don't. She was talking about dating and stuff like that. I said your main job right now is to survive the pandemic. Like that, like all these other thing. Hold
You
on, I'm
just
sorry.
you froze up on that last part, but I think I get where you were
Yeah,
going
you
for
get where that
there. Yeah,
thought is.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think the first shows out of this thing are going to be nuts in the best way possible.
Yes.
And I, for one, am looking forward to them. I went to an outdoor kind of thing the other week, and it was
How was
cool.
that?
It was cool, but like it's not the same.
It's
It's
not the same. I agree.
you have like a band that's playing, and everyone's just sitting at their tables, and
You
it's
can't socialize. The socialization is missing.
or
It's
you
like,
can't
uh,
you can't even move. You know what I mean? Like if it's a grooving song and you want to dance a little, you can't dance. And
yeah.
not that I dance, but it's one of those things where like those first shows are going to be awesome. And if you have the ability to get out to a show when an actual show can happen again, I suggest you do, because it's going to be gnarly in the best way.
Yeah, like I definitely want to, like, once all this is kind of settled and like, okay, like, you guys can kind of come back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree with you there. So I don't know if you saw that on my thing. So I went to a concert in Arboretum. So they were able to socially distance everybody so that, very far away from each other. But just like you said, I'm sitting there. I mean, I'm like, I like this song, but you're sitting there by yourself, just kind of having
Yeah.
this experience alone, which is really not the point of a concert. When I was having issues in college, I went to the scene and I knew that I was welcome. And I made friends with these people that had all these tattoos and, all these different lifestyles I was exposed to and different people. But, it was a place for everybody to belong. And I just never, forgot the way I felt, and, if you will.
Yeah. No, totally.
So I guess what I'm getting at is it's very hard to keep that kind of atmosphere going when it's like the whole point is that maybe you shouldn't be so close. Maybe we got to, stand a little far.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, so I mean, the other thing I wanted to talk about with you, and I'll kind of dive into what I have going on too right now, is how our artistry has kind of changed how we approach things. So with True Minds, we had, it was really wild. We had a show that was like March 19th, March whatever Saturday that was, in Delaware, right as everything was shutting down, and it was such a surreal show to play. You know what I mean? Like there are very few people out. The sound person went 100%. He had fucking fog machines and shit, and it was bands that we know and love, and it was a really fun show, minus kind of this undertone of like what's going to happen next.
Did
And
people were people kind of at the realization like this might be the last concert I go to for like a while?
yeah, I mean,
Like was that kind of in there?
oh, absolutely. And I mean, I try and approach every stage as this could be the last show I play. What do I want to leave here?
Yeah.
And
Leave it all on the table, you know?
absolutely,
As a performer, yeah.
there was some realness to that with that show of like,
Is this the last time, you know?
are we going to be back doing this? Like, so we had after that show, we had about 5 other shows lined up in April and then a couple in May, and it was like, oh, are we going to have these May shows that are going to happen? What's the move? And obviously those shows didn't happen, but it was just such a crazy experience to play that thing. It was a great show. We sounded awesome. We played great. People that came out wanted to come out, and it was good. But oh man, it was weird. But
right, and it's hard for this industry has taken such a big hit because all the gigging musicians, it's like their jobs have pretty much, I don't want to use that word, but I'm going to say it, evaporated 90% of that marketplace. Live streaming is not enough to pay a musician's bills or get us across the threshold. As much as, the tip jar, the virtual tip jar, or leaving your Venmo and PayPal available, it's helpful when people do it. But it's like, how can I leave a tip if you're not even back to your own job yet, or you got fired from, you are late? You get where, I'm coming from.
I mean, the wild thing with all of this too, and speaking from the music side of this, but I'm sure it resonates with really any kind of, I guess, hobby's not the right word, but maybe not a professional application. Like, there's people that take photos as a hobby, but it's not their main job, right?
Right.
But I feel like a lot of these markets are seeing people taking this time to invest in doing those activities. Like, guitar sales for a long time weren't near, if I remember the numbers correctly, weren't near quite, what some other maybe MIDI controllers or MIDI keyboards or, microphones or whatever were in the instrument market. And when this happens, a lot of people decided that they should try guitar, and that, there's just so many aspects of this that are different from what they were.
Right, and I've seen a lot of people online, and people I know talking about, oh, I'm gonna learn ukulele over quarantine. I'm like, good luck with that. When you realize how many chords that thing has, and it's like a mini guitar, and that you need different books and maybe a teacher, let me know how that goes. I want to talk to you after.
Ukulele's not too bad. It's 4 strings, and it's pretty straightforward.
But I think if you don't play music often, if you don't sing, if you don't have like the ear development or music theory that you've had in the past, and you think you're just gonna, oh, this will sound great.
Well, I mean, I think that's for anyone though, right? Like I picked up a bass and I was like, great, I'm gonna be like Mike Dirt and Duck McKagan, and shit's gonna be awesome. And it wasn't for a long time, and it's still not at that level. As with anything, it's a learning curve. But good for all the people that took this time to be like, yo, I'm gonna learn guitar or ukulele or drums or voice or what have you. I think that's a really cool thing in bringing people into the awesomeness that is making music. So, I mean, that's
right.
What a wild thing in a time where traditionally acoustic instruments maybe weren't as popular, to have that be a thing that people are going for, that things are out of stock, that you can't get things because a ton of people are going after the same thing.
Right. To entertain themselves, because there's only so much of Netflix that you're going to take after being in the house for 30 days. I mean, I would say by the time I was at that third month, I was like, there were certain things that I knew I had to take care of in that first month, but like once I got past like kind of my to-do list that I had to do, I had less like, you know what I mean? There were less goals to accomplish. And
Right.
so then I just was like sitting in the house and I'm like, and I couldn't go to the gym.
So I'm one of those people that didn't get Netflix until this started.
Okay.
Because they're like, all right, I gotta do this. So I ain't gonna lie, I didn't play bass until I finished Tiger King. So I got through, I got through all that. That's how I
That's
started this thing
crazy.
off. Man, what a show! What
Oh
a
my
show.
God.
Fantastic show. But yeah, I mean, so going back to kind of True Minds, we were in a really fortunate place where we recorded a bunch of songs last year that
Good.
were
So your recording is already done, really.
exactly. So,
Whew.
you know,
Whew.
we had things to lean on, that weren't shows. Things, we were planning to release these songs
Right.
around this time frame
So
anyway.
you had songs to push out, is what you're telling me.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So
Awesome. That's great, though.
yeah, I mean, it was definitely helpful in lieu of having kind of the show aspect and kind of having to shift really quickly in how we did what we did. So that was helpful, and I mean, we recorded synths, we got some other stuff down, but just having something to fall back on and spend some time getting right, which is something I think we haven't done quite as much with some of the previous releases, was a really good thing. So.
Good.
Got
I just love you guys because you're just always like you guys are just always on it. And to me, you guys just represent like just a well-oiled machine.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Just because I mean I won't get naming names or too into who did what. So I don't know if you know this, but I got invited to cut a song with a local band.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Very cool opportunity. I thought, oh my God, this is so cool. It ended up being not so good just because the band is kind of going underwater during COVID because they just like you're saying, like they had songs, but I don't know. They're just not as organized as you guys.
Gotcha.
Like, do you guys like plan your year? You know, some people do.
I mean, in what we do, not really. Like,
Okay.
we'll have songs that we know we want to put out this year, and we'll have an EP that we know we want to put out this year and work towards this year. But
Okay.
there's so much in between, like so many. Hey, do you want to play this show on random night? That there's
Right. There's
kind of
that
a general thing, but
right.
shows and what have you are just all kind of as they happen. So
Okay.
I wouldn't say we're necessarily well planned, but we have a kind of ballpark of where we're trying to go. We usually get there.
At this point, I mean, and there's so many things I want to like get into, and I'm just not sure that I'm like tapping, into all of them right now. I mean, what would you? I'll put it out there like this, like let's say somebody was in a band for 4 years. Okay, they've been at it for 4 years with this whole band situation, and the band was not drawn. Like they put out more songs, but the band wasn't drawing new fans, new followers on social media, and it wasn't getting new booking opportunities. So, like, what would you like advise them to do? I just want to hear your side. I
Yeah,
already know
I mean,
what I
so I've been in True Minds for 5 years, and that's always a personal goal of mine. Is I don't want to be playing at the same places every year, right? I want to be playing at spots that I enjoy playing at, with bands that I enjoy playing with bookers that put on great shows. But I don't, want to be just doing the same gig every year, right? I want to see a couple new venues that I haven't played at every year.
Right.
And so that's a personal goal of mine. I don't mind playing the same spot. That's great. If it's a great spot, I don't mind it, but I don't want to be there, every month. That's just not a good look, to a degree. That's, it depends on the gig, right? But for what I do, and for where I see myself, and where, I, as 1/3 of the band, where I see kind of that direction going, I I want I want to change it up. I want to play more faces and more places, and yeah, that's how I would approach it. Look for more spots. Look for some diversity in those spots.
Okay. Right. But I would think, I feel like this about it. If you've been at it for 4 years and you're not really getting, and I hate to say it like this, but when you're kind of in the middle of like artist development or band development, meaning that you haven't worked with like a top tier musician, you're just kind of like you're not on the bottom, you're trying to, you're in like the middle. That's where you get all of like the weird kind of offers that you probably like shouldn't take, from
Yeah,
like some really shady people, and it's like, ugh, wish I never got with that. You know?
yeah. And I mean, I think that's something that comes with time too. You kind of realize, like, if we get invited to play a show that just either logistically doesn't make sense, or financially doesn't make sense, or even, genre just doesn't make sense, like, happy to not play that show. Not that we don't like playing shows, we love doing that, but
No, but
it's
sometimes
gotta,
it's just, look, you know, if it's really costing you more money and you're not seeing the opportunity, risk reward kind of, you know, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, absolutely.
and that's kind of how I see things too, to a point. It's like, yeah, I could do this. At first, when I was just trying to get back into the game, I was like, well, I just have to be busy. Like, I just have to show these people that like I'm busy. I did get busy, and I almost burned myself out by being busy. Okay? So now it's time to stop. Now it's time to work on the craft and put something quality together, spend some more money, and really showcase, who I am as an artist.
So speaking of artistry, I, on a personal level, I spent a lot of this time kind of building up the here I am kind of music room, like, let's check out what a Nashville tuning is, kind of kind of content and video and exploration into sound. Um, Anything change for you in terms of your output, aside from kind of your recorded works or things like that? Like, anything you wanted to show folks and let folks know about, you took advantage of, if that makes sense.
On a personal level, for me, like, there's definitely like more. I don't know if you want to help me with this or not, but there's more like YouTube videos that I really want to make, like specifically geared towards just like the singer. Like, I'm just speaking to you directly, because it's just like there's so much psychological bullshit that we have to like deal with all the time. And we're not talking about the band, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you, okay? Because if the trauma hasn't been processed properly, then you ain't going nowhere. And guess what? You bring your fucking self everywhere you go. You know what I mean? And you're like, how come I don't have the career I want? Fool, it's you. It's you. It's you. It's you getting in your own way. So I really want to like put some content out there that has to do with just like the singer working on their their inner game and their psychology before they go into the recording booth. Because I've had bad days in the studio, and it's like I've taken lessons. I've sang in the choir. I've been the lead in the play. I've done some things. So you know what I mean? So some of this is psychological.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd watch it. That'd be cool. I think psychology plays a lot in what we do and how we approach things, and ultimately where we end up in this thing, right? So yeah, that's important. Absolutely.
Because I feel like some of this is why, we always look at, well, how come this band made it, but like this person didn't? And, not all of it, some of it is money, some of it is who you know, but then the other layer is the psychology behind it.
Oh, absolutely.
So I
Yeah, I mean,
definitely, not that I want to like become a psychologist now, like let's not, you know, go there. But I do think, there's just simple applicable things from the video. And just a simple just putting it in a very like simple, easy to understand way. You don't have to have a college degree to understand what I'm saying, just in a very simple way.
yeah, I think that side of making music is fascinating, right? I think people just see it as like, oh, we're making music, we're strumming chords, this is great. But
People think that, oh well, either this person could sing or this person can't, and it's like, if you knew what, like, just having like a great vocal coach and just having somebody like cut into your trauma, all of a sudden that's a different singer.
mm,
That is a different singer, just upon the basis. And it's not always how many years you took lessons. I'm finding it's more about, do you have the right teacher for you at the time? Because if you're an intermediate vocalist, but your teacher can't like help you past beginner level things, then you're, again, so it's not, oh well, these are all the years I spent in lessons. If this person is not doing another thing for you, then it's not about you spending another year of your life with the same teacher.
yeah, absolutely.
And I
And
think that piece of information need just all, there's so many things I'm like learning and I'm getting into, and I'm like, why is some of this like top secret shit that like I had like far in to have anybody even like explain to me?
what other kind of things have you been digging into?
Um, a lot of it is vocal stuff and just addressing things like we don't, it's just so interesting. Nobody wants to talk about, vocal regression, meaning that you could sing really well before, but if you stop practicing, it's like all of a sudden you don't have a voice anymore.
Hmm.
So I think that, people say, well, how come that album took so long to make? And I go, is it really about money after a certain point? Sometimes it's not money. Sometimes it's that person's voice wasn't ready.
Yeah, I think we've all been there, performance wise. We all have our days and our months and where things are rad and they're shredding, and other times it's like, not so much.
Right. So I definitely want to get into, just helping people. So now in my services, I do offer, coaching, just tapping into those issues. It's like, what is really going on? What is really going to be the thing that helps you get past all of, either the negativity or the trauma that you're going through, just what's holding this person down from being successful.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, as someone who's not coming from a vocal side of things, I think that it has an application to any instrument ultimately, but yeah, I'd totally watch it. I'd be down. Let me know when
Yeah,
you
so
put
I
these out.
definitely, I would love to film, if it's all right with the person, obviously, I would love to film one of the coaching calls that I do where I'm really like getting in your head and I'm kind of picking through your shit a little bit and I'm like, oh, because everybody, everybody has that one comment that somebody said with them that always kind of stayed with them. And no, you don't have to tell me what yours is, but you probably have that. Either it's something that you're sensitive about, that if somebody pushes on that, you're like, oh, or whatever it may be. We all have that one thing that it's like, yeah. Like I said, it's that one thing. And then I just want to give, because I just feel like, again, I just feel like a lot of the information that's necessary is not on the internet. Like the things I've picked up on, you couldn't just look it up in a book. Like nobody's written the book that I feel like I need to write for other people.
You want to share any of those at this point, or is that still under wraps?
Well, I will share one principle that I've picked up on, because haven't you noticed that a lot of people with the singer always tell them, well, I noticed that singers tend to, like when they get told that they're having like difficulties with the voice, that they tend to want to stay out of the studio for like the whole year and just go see the teacher. And it's like, yes, but we don't have a measuring stick no more for where you are, or if that teacher is actually like helping you like fine tune your issues. So I don't recommend to anybody that they would stay out of a recording studio for an entire year, because if the truth be told is, if your teacher is doing their job, you can see the difference within 3 months. So I say 3, 6, 9, meaning that if you're having problems, you're going to go to the studio in 3 months from now, you're going to go to the studio in 6 months from now, and in 9 months, meaning that you've had 3 different measurement sticks for how this is actually going, not staying out all year. You know what I mean? I think that's dumb, because you can't hear nothing. Staying out all year. That doesn't make any sense.
I totally get that. Yeah, it's like if I stopped playing bass for a year and wanted to go back to it.
Have you noticed that's kind of like what they do, where like, I'm going to stay out of the studio all year and I'm just going to. What was that part? I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah, you froze up too a bit. I mean, I don't run into that, but that's probably more based on the genre that I play than what I do.
Right. Well, when your guy, when Toby sings, he has his own way of singing, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
Would you describe Toby to these people, if anyone's listening, as a clean vocalist or unclean? Because I feel like he almost like does both.
I'd say that's really fair. I would absolutely say he does both, and
because there's times, musical way. And it's like a crazy blend. Like he does it so well, nobody could do what he does. I don't want to try to be him at his job.
So the other side of that too is, both of the guys in the band that have been doing this for a long time, so they have ways of doing things, and they don't necessarily need to rely on a studio or a producer or an engineer to get that done, So
they've just been at it so long that it's just exactly. It's like permanent. It's like permanent to them. But I definitely want to help people, because there was this woman that reached out to me. She's 40 years old. she's always dreamt of being in a band. I said, you've always had a passion for music. I'm like, why has it taken you this long to get here? Like, tell me about this. She was like, well, I was scared. I was like, I get that. I said, but if you're an older female singer, like sing jazz or like sing, because this is my thing. You're 40 years old, okay? You're probably not going to be Taylor Swift, right? That's Pat, but that doesn't mean that you can't find a very sizable niche that you could get 10,000 followers and they could basically be the Kickstarters to back your album so that you don't have to pay for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you can't enact your niche. I told her some of the things to do. She still has not done them. I'm not happy with her. So I cut her off the instructions. I said, I told her, I said, you're to come train with me. I said, you're gonna do what I do. Because if you do what I do, then you become me. So at least you would have half a shot just being trained by, someone that's doing a little bit more than you. When it's time for her to leave me, she can leave if she wants to. But I'm just saying, if I'm giving you lockstep, look, do this, okay, but you're not. So so I'm getting frustrated with her because I've given you explicit instructions and you refuse to, it's like, I feel like this. Don't ask me for my help if you're really not ready to do the work, I feel like she wants it, but it's like, baby, you don't even, some of these girls, it's like, honey, you don't even know the sacrifices that you're going to have to make to really even get halfway to the things you want.
Yeah, it's definitely, you got to work for it. And, as much as I think a lot of people gloss over that and maybe don't talk about it, you got to practice. You got to know the tunes. You got to be able to deliver. And
I mean, not only that, but like musicians, we get hurt over these things. Like musicians don't even really talk about all of the romantic relationships that they sidestepped because they wanted to be in their career. We're just so in our, music and whatnot. We don't even talk about, you know what I mean? That's what I mean when I say sacrifices, meaning that you're not even willing to let other people distract you from the fact that you have this mission,
Yeah.
And if all of us have been through that, and I can't believe we don't talk about it to each other more often.
Well, I mean, I think that a lot of that just comes down to, the relationship at that point, right? Like there's a lot of couples that isn't an issue, where they give each other time for things that the other really enjoys and really cherishes and goes for. But there's also a lot where it's the opposite, where that doesn't happen. So, I guess where I'm going with that is, there's kind of, it's probably kind of more of a 50-50 split on something like that, where you either have people that forgo relationships to pursue this thing,
because they're so like focused on, you know what I mean, that they're almost repelling people. They're like, no, I'm just so like, tunnel vision. There's that person, and then I think there's, like you're saying, happy medium kind of, where they figure out, this is where we'll do this. This is where such and such will have this.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think you could say the same for any industry. I'm sure you could say the same for news reporter, for financial advice. You could say the same thing for any any field.
Right. But I think even more so with this, because this is, if you're on tour for 9 months out of the year, meaning that like people like us, when we get quote bigger, like we don't come home. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of the rub. And other people know that. It's like, and other people know that, and they kind of give you like, I don't want to say the side eye, but they're a little bit nervous about getting involved with you because they're like, yeah, like you're here now, but if your band takes off, are you like leaving me? Like some people are really have anxiety like that, like for real.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I don't think that people need to futurize shit so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, if this year has taught us anything, it's that.
Is that we don't know the future, to be honest, the way we thought we did. Because
Yeah.
right, we was January 2020, we was like, oh, we have this year planned out. Oh, we
Yep.
it's like, oh, help us, Jesus. We don't have a damn thing planned out. Help us, God.
Which, you know, I think that pivot is so important at that point, right? Like, you know, the second that happens, the people that got the most out of it were the people that, and speaking purely from kind of a band music kind of point at this, you know, here, but the people that were able to fall back on, you know, stuff they did at home or stuff that they had in the works, like video wise, stuff that didn't require an audience in a band. You know, it really highlights just being able to shift really fast.
Right.
And, you know, as musicians, maybe it's something that I personally was like, oh, great, I'm going to play shows and record and, you know, it's going to be awesome. But
it's going to be awesome. We're going places.
You know, you gotta branch out a little bit from what, at least for me personally, speaking for myself, I had to branch out a little bit from what I saw myself.
Right, whatever we thought the plan was, it definitely has changed big time. Yeah. Help me, God. But I mean, like, it's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also like, I mean, it's crazy to think about it. Like, I'm going to be in my rocking chair telling my grandkids this story, like, yeah, you know, coronavirus.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, a lot of people wasn't doing so well. It was like the one guy even said, he's like, you know, this is kind of, and I mean, not to be grim. I'm really trying to keep it lighthearted for the people that's listening. But I mean, he described it like he said Great Depression, you know. It's kind of like this because a lot of people is losing, you know, things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's gonna be a wild time. It's been a wild time. It's gonna continue.
And I think we have, and I don't want to sound pessimistic or put that energy out there, of course, but I think we have a little bit more to go in terms of things being restorative or not wearing a mask.
You cut out a little bit towards the end, but I think I got you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just because, you know, people, like I said, people are saying, well, when is it going to be normal again? I'm like, haven't you got that after? I would think you got that memo that stuff isn't right out here, like 2 months into sitting in the house when you wasn't at your job. I would think y'all should have got that memo already that we in for a hell of a ride.
Yeah. Well,
oh my God.
Devin, speaking of keeping it positive, let's end it on something positive, you know?
Right. We're not trying to be negative, you know. I mean, I'm laughing while I'm saying all this, you know, tongue in cheek, but
it's all good. Well, no, give us something positive. So we got September, October, November, December. We got like 4 months, you know, until we hit 2021. Give us something positive. What you got going on?
I feel, this is my mindset. I feel like this, you know, we're getting down to the nitty gritty of the end of this year. You know, if you really feel like you haven't been in a good place, beat the shit out of this time. Make it count like nothing else matters. Work on your business, work on your body, work on yourself, whatever you feel like. You know, because this is my thing, you know, if you're at home right now and you have all this extra time, this is a gift. Tap into who you really want to be, or what jobs you, or whatever it's going on or that's coming up that you would like to change, this is the time. So I want people to see this as an opportunity. Where do you want to be in the next 5 years? Either you're going to be wherever that is in whatever shape if you don't make a plan, or you won't. It's up to you. Now, the trajectory of how you get there can change, right? But for me on this year, what did I say? I said 2020 is going to be the year that I do music. Now, but notice how broad that is, right? So that means I don't have to be defined by, well, I was just going to do shows. Well, I was just going to travel and do this. No, 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 no. If something like this happens to you, use this, throw the rule book out. There are no rules anymore, okay? So that's that.
Lost your last point, but again, I think you summed it up really well. Just to keep on going and forgo what was and embrace this new time and make the most out of it.
Right. And I mean, seriously, like if you're serious about, and I don't know why I keep going, if you want to be an entrepreneur, this is the time to look into it. Like I said, everyone and their mom is home. So sitting by the phone, waiting to hear, what's going to happen next. So it's like that. If you've ever felt like, well, I really have a dream, this is your time. Go get it.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, Devon, thank you so much. It is always a blast to talk about music and kind of music-related thoughts. And I'm really stoked to hear what you have to say about kind of the psychology behind some of this. And that I find that really interesting. So I'm stoked to hear what you have. So
Yeah.
let me
So
know
I don't know
that
if
happens.
you want to do the psychology video with me, but I mean,
Hell
we're
yeah.
going to work. Like, I'm going to tap some people open, and I don't want to hear any bullshit. I want to know what's going on in your mind, because some of this, what's going on, is subconscious, and it's like you don't even realize that you're doing it. You don't necessarily realize you have a defense system or a mechanism from your child. Like, we are going to heal some folks.
Right on. Well, I'm stoked to hear and kind of see how this all plans out and what you do with this, man. It's going to be awesome.
Yes.
I mean, I love the psychology / music kind of bond. So this should be good.
We're going to merge them.
Right on. Well, Devon, thank you so much. As always, stay well. And
yes, no, you stay well too out here in this. Whoop, help me, God. Oh my God. Yes.
We'll have a most excellent Saturday.
For sure. And definitely, yep, just let me know when you want to do the next one.